obviously played here, but also coached against me when he was at Valdosta State and I was at West Georgia. We were rivals. I beat him more than he beat me. And then obviously we played them when he was in the Army last year, and we won that one too. So, but I like to tell him that. But bringing an alum like Danny back here was a great deal. And then Keith Jones, D-line is actually one of my emphasis in coaching. I've coached that probably more than anything. And we have a lot of the same contacts, and he teaches it the same way. And I wanted to hire somebody like him that had an NFL background, did a great job at App State. You go watch the D-line he had there. He did a really good job there, and I've been really impressed with him. So, and then a lot of our off-the-field guys are guys who have played in the system I coach and played for me at Auburn or played for me other places. So really excited about our staff.
What's your defensive philosophy?
Yes, great. So I told the players the first time I met them is we're going to swing first and ask questions later. We're going to be the aggressor. Sometimes I kick myself that I should have been an offensive coach because this game is kind of tailored for the offense. And so I think to be good on defense, you've got to be aggressive. Offenses want to dictate what you do by whether it is their tempo or their formations or all these things. We're not going to let anybody dictate what we do. We're going to be the aggressor. We're going to swing first. And then, in terms of just breaking it down, the three things we talk about every single day are effort, tackling, and execution. We talk about having relentless effort, violent tackling, and elite mental execution. You got to play hard. You got to get people on the ground. And you got to do your job. And so, whatever that is, whether that's 4-man front or 3-man front, whether that's man, whether that's zone, all that's out the window if you don't play the game the right way. It's got way more to do with how we play than what we do.
To be the first hire on the Hartline staff, that's pretty cool. Just how much pride do you take in that he was the guy, you were the guy that he wanted first to hire?
I was very humbled by that. I tell you, Coach, moving fast the way he did, I think helped us in so many ways, not just because, I think I'm the best hire or whatever, but me being able to get down here. I watched 6 bowl practices leading into that bowl game and being able to evaluate the roster and have a feel for who was going to stay, who was going to leave, who was for sure leaving because they were seniors. What were they doing on defense that kind of fits what I'm going to do or we're going to do already, what they're comfortable with. That was huge for me in recruiting. Whereas a lot of coaches, when you take a new job, you don't get to see those guys move around, right? You don't get to evaluate them. And that was credit to Coach Hartline. I think when you look back on how hopefully successful we're going to be this year, I think that'll be a huge part of it is we were very detailed in the type of player we went and got on defense at each position because we knew exactly what we needed. And I think that is a very underrated deal, and credit to Coach Hartline and moving quick.
Since this happened pretty fast, did you approach them or did he call you? Were you surprised?
There was, I got a call that he was interested, and I did my research and made sure I reached out to make sure he knew I was interested. Yes, sir. Yep.
You spent, 5 or 6 seasons with Coach Freeze, I guess.
Yes, sir.
If you could talk about what he meant to you and your development as a coordinator.
Correct. Yeah, that's a great. So I was the D coordinator at Lenoir-Rhyne University in North Carolina. That was my first coordinator job. And I was really excited to be a D coordinator, and Hugh Freeze convinced me to come to Liberty as a position coach. Gave me my first Division I job. It was hard to not be a coordinator anymore, but just going to work for Coach and all the things he did for my family in those 6 years I worked with him is, I couldn't even stand here and tell you all of it. I owe him just about everything. And for him and Miss Jill, how they've shown me how to raise a family while you're being a coach and to deal with the trials and tribulations of coaching and the ebbs and flows, that was incredible for me. And then he really helped me a lot getting that coordinator job at East Carolina. And I was his coordinator that last year at Liberty, and then I came to Auburn as a position coach. So Coach giving me that first Division I chance to be a coordinator was a big-time deal for me, and I learned a lot from that year. And we had a great year, but I learned a lot from things I could have done better too. And I owe a lot to Coach Freeze.
You had a heck of a time at Liberty too. They really had some good teams.
Yeah, we did, man. We did, and then I was the interim for that bowl game, and that was the first year of the portal. So it's not real fun to be an interim head coach during a bowl. When the portal, you go out there and jog out there. I think they had a similar deal here. We jog out there with 40 people basically. But he basically helped me get my first head coaching opportunity too. So, we had a lot of good teams. Malik Willis, guy who just got paid a lot of money in the NFL, was our quarterback. It was a lot of good times up there at Liberty.
Which there are a ton of new players here, and
Yeah.
that's kind of the theme on both sides of the ball. But there's also a smattering of guys like Michael Williams, Tavin Ward. Maybe there's some others on your side of the ball that have been here. Maybe you're on their third head coach. What's the role of a guy like that who's been there, done that here, who's learning a new system, who has experience playing here, and maybe kind of knows the lay of the land?
Well, I'll tell you, man, like, if those guys are listening to this, like Mike Williams, Ryan Jenkins, Tavin Ward, all those guys, like, I love them so much and appreciate them. You know what I mean? Them going out on a limb to stay here with me, because a lot of guys don't do that anymore, And like you just said, they've had several head coaches even, right? And for those guys to stick it around and to trust me, like I said, that was a huge part of the deal. Is I was meeting with players while they were practicing. I wasn't trying to be a distraction or anything like that. I really wanted them to know that I didn't come here to blow this up. You know what I mean? I told Mike Williams that the first time I met him, like, dude, I didn't come here to flip this over. You guys have been solid, but I did come here to make it better, right? And so I want you here. You know what I mean? It's not like, hey, I'm going to go get my players. Are we going to have to go get new players? Sure. It's the nature of it. Guys are going to leave. But I didn't come here to run people off. We didn't run anybody off. So for those guys that you mentioned, among plenty other ones, for them to stick around, especially if they've been that long, man, like, that is special. And I hope at the end of the year, those are guys we can thank a lot that they trusted us to stick around and do that.
Coach, there's an old saying in coaching, read the guards, they'll tell you this run or pass. With the 3-yard rule in college, how hard is that? Does that even apply anymore?
No, they don't call that crap. I mean, like, they don't. They run all the way down the field and they don't throw it. So I don't even worry about that anymore. I think you just got to create ways to create an advantage. I don't know if you heard me earlier, but we're going to go be the aggressor, and it's way more about us than them. Like, it's way more about what we do than what they do. Like, if we sit here and hem-haw around about what they do and complain about it or worry about that, we're not going to spend enough time worrying about ourselves and how we can get better, right? And so in doing our job, right? So, and I think that, truth be told, that is a huge deal. We play all these option teams in this league, right? Okay, their biggest thing is they're trying to get you to play slow. They're running a different offense. They're trying to make you play on your heels. How can you go play fast? It's more about what we do, not what they do, right? So that would be my emphasis about anything that involves the offense.
Just a little background. You're from Tennessee, right?
One more time.
Are you a native Tennessee?
I am.
Is that
Jackson,
where
Tennessee, man.
Your parents are from?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I grew up on an 80-acre cotton farm. My dad made Pringles chips for 30-something years. I was an only child. And my dad was a farmer before he did that. And I got told at a young age I wasn't allowed to be a farmer. And, so I'm a country boy when it comes to that. It comes out every once in a while and I get mad. You can hear me. But yeah, I'm from Jackson, Tennessee, just about halfway between Memphis and Nashville. Yes, sir.
You were a 4-year player in college, right?
I was. I played at Harding University, Division II school in Arkansas. They actually won the national championship 2 years ago, and they played for it this year. Actually got to sneak out there and watch it. So, yeah, I'm a D2 guy for life, man.
What was your major?
Social or pre-law to start. I was going to be a lawyer, and I figured out quickly that just because you're good in school doesn't mean you like school. So I figured out I wanted to get out of school as fast as I could, and coaching was that. So.
Football was in your blood.
Yes, sir.
Were your family, I don't want to assume anything, but volunteers, did you follow?
I grew up going to those games. I wouldn't necessarily say I bleed orange. But yeah, I just loved football. And that's kind of how I knew that I wanted to be a coach, was I never really picked a team. I just loved the game. Yes, sir. Yep.
Coach, the way the game has developed, can you play defense if you can't run?
Can you play defense if you can't
Do you
run?
have to be fast?
You've got to have twitch. I don't know if I would put the term run. There's plenty of guys who have twitch that can't win the 100 meters, So I think you've got to have twitch and traits. I focus more on traits, right? And I guess speed could be one of those traits. But, you got to be able to play the game the right way. Now, you can't go out there and play corner if you can't run. You know what I mean? You can't play safety if you can't run. So, I think that is what we're looking for. We'd love to have guys who can run and big and strong and can tackle people. So, I'd be hard pressed to find many of our guys who can't run. I'm real impressed. He asked me earlier, like, things I've noticed. We're quick on defense. We've got some guys who can run, really run.
Coach, we're going to speak to Howard and Major Dillard. I wonder if you could just speak about each of those guys, what they've shown you in spring, and what characteristics stood out to you.
Man, what two cool young men. Like, you look at Major Dillard, his story is very unique. I'll let him tell it, but I'm partial to him because he's a D2 guy like me at one point, and just what a neat story. And he's had an incredible camp so far. I know he's listening back there somewhere. Hopefully he doesn't get too big of a head, but he's done a really good job. And then Pup, just the injury he had last year at Florida, when the year before I think he started every single game for him. And, man, what a great leader. Like one of the better leaders I've been around. Really neat. So you picked two really great young men to speak with today.
And those are two, I mean, this size, two physical guys, right?
Yeah. Major could squat this room. And then Pup's like gold, what Coach AT calls gold standard in terms of body fat percentage and his size and things like that. I mean, it's really nice to have a long linebacker like that. That creates a lot of issues out there on the hash to be 6'3" and some change, whatever he is. So.
Coach, the way.
Go ahead. When you have is Major's 330 and change somewhere in there?
Yeah, I won't give it away for him. He probably don't want me to say his.
So what does that do for a defense to have that sort of body in the middle?
Yeah, I mean, anytime, whether you're playing 3-man front or 4-man front, anytime you're nose guard or you have a D lineman who can two-gap somebody, you're winning the math, right? You're winning the math. Like they're playing with 10 now, right? So that's a huge deal. And usually he's asking about speed. I mean, usually guys who are really fast don't weigh 330 pounds. You know what I mean? But Major's really strong, and he's actually got really long arms to be his height as well. So he's not just a fire hydrant or anything like that, you know. So really, really impressed with how he commands a double team in the middle for sure.
Coach, let me follow up a little bit on that.
Yeah.
The way offenses are stretching sideline to sideline, are nickel and dime packages just becoming more regular than this?
Yeah, I think it's less about whether you're a nickel dime or more of just, like I talked about position flexibility earlier. Anytime you can have 11 guys on the field and be able to do multiple things without having to sub is the huge deal, right? Because they might be a team that puts 2 running backs on the field, but one of them can line up at receiver. So you have to be able to line up to all those formations with the same people because you don't know, right? Or they have a tight end who's really athletic and go out and play receiver, kind of like you're describing, right? So I don't know if it's you have to be a dime team or a nickel team or whatever, but you better be able to be multiple. And the only way you can be multiple is to have guys who have position flexibility, because I might have to play anywhere from a 4-eye down to a 2-eye. I might have to play anything from a corner that's down to a corner that's in the deep half, or an inside linebacker to an outside linebacker. So you just need guys who can do multiple things, or you're going to be sitting there and your menu for what you're calling is about like this. And when you do that, you're probably going to get gashed. So.
What's your favorite part about coaching, and how would you describe yourself as a coach?
First, favorite part. I love to see the growth. It is really neat for me to see a guy make a mistake and then fix it. Like, we highlight that all the time in our meetings, and that puts a smile on my face. That's why I got into it. We talked about I played at Harding, my position coach. I saw what he did for guys who were lesser fortunate than me or weren't as good as players as me or whatever, and how much better those guys got because of him, right? And teaching those guys how to be fathers one day and to fight through hard things and things like that. I really believe, even though people are transferring and all that stuff, like, you can still learn how to be a great dad, how to be a great husband by the hard things you have to do, right? And it's like we talked about earlier, like Coach Hartline says all the time, it's not about being a husband, it's about what type of husband are you, right? So it's less about what we do and how we do it, right? They're learning that from us as coaches. And then how I would describe myself as a coach, I don't know. Major's back there probably thinking of some dirty words to call me, but I would say I think I'm consistent, right? Regardless of what you think of me, I'm pretty consistent. I'm the same person every single day, and I think that's fair. And when they wake up every single day, whether they think I'm really hard on them or not, I am fair. And I think that's all I can be asked of them. And then, I told them, all these guys when I recruit them, they'll never call me a liar. They might call home and say, Coach Aldridge won't leave me alone, but they'll never say I lied to them. And so hopefully they can say that, but I would hope that's what they would describe me as.
Coach, John Lentz was a very good friend of mine.
Mm-hmm.
He was a teammate, and he was a coach at Lenore Ryan. What are the 1 or 2 things you took from Hickory that you still have today?
When I was a coach at Hickory, because I played at Harding. Yeah, so when I was a player or when I was a coach at LR?
Either one.
Okay, gotcha. I'd say just in general, just the brotherhood. like selflessness is not thinking less of yourself, but thinking of yourself less, right? And so I think that is something that goes unseen or unheard of in football some days. And like, it's more about like, this guy right here is counting on me, and I don't want to let him down. I think a lot of times guys, they get in the mode of the fear of failure, right? And we don't want to be afraid to fail. We want to be afraid to let our brother down, because that's powerful, right? It's like lifting a car off your mom, that whole analogy, right? You know what I mean? Like, if you're afraid to fail, you're just worried about how you look. You know, I could give a rip what people think about me. What I can't stand or what I worry about is, am I letting these players down? Am I getting them ready to go play? That's what I tell them all the time. That's why I'm going to be hard on them in practice, because when we get to Saturday, if we don't win or we don't play well, I let you down. So that's why we're going to be really hard on you during the week. And I always had that as a coach, or I had coaches that were like that with me. And I think it's the same thing as a teammate, right? You shouldn't be. Yeah, you want individual improvement and all those things, but it should be more about like not letting your brother down and not how you look, right? And then ultimately, if we play well as a team, you will get your individual accolades. You'll get your individual goals, but you can't start the other way.
I guess to follow up on kind of everyone else, how would you describe yourself as not a coach, but as a person, as a husband, as a father?
Ooh, that one, yeah. You should ask my wife that. You know, I think what I got to do a great job is like flipping that switch. You know, I've got a 10-year-old son, Braxton, an 8-year-old daughter, Nora. You know, it's just like you coach every player different. You know, you got to parent every kid different, right? And I probably struggle with that. I probably also struggle taking the whistle off when I get home and still acting like a coach. Like, I catch myself when my son does something, be like, "Hey, man!" And that's what I say at practice, right? And my wife does tell me he's not a man, and you know, I gotta trade that. But you know, hopefully I'm hard on them too, and in a good way, and that results in them being good wives or husbands or fathers, which is hard to even think about right now. But thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate all y'all do.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, we'll start with defensive tackle, Dillard. Take question.
How did you decide to leave your last place, and why did you come here?
Before you start, can we have 5 seconds? You mind?
Yeah.
Yeah, come here.
Sorry about that. What was your question?
So how you got here, why you left your last place, and why you chose to come to USF?
So yeah, I just came from Norfolk State University in Norfolk, Virginia. Honestly, it was just the best decision for me and my family, you know, trying to go up a level. Previously, before Norfolk State, I was at Chewan University, which is D2. I know Coach A probably touched on that a little bit. But, yeah, just looking for a better opportunity, you know, trying to keep climbing to the next levels, you know. So that was pretty much why I left. And, you know, how I got here. Coach A, he had hit my phone. You know, he said he loved my tape. And, you know, as you can see the facility, man, it's a beautiful place. Tampa, USF, the people. You know, it's like a family here, so I was like, why not come here?
How do you feel, Major, your season at Norfolk State last year prepared you for this jump? Obviously, you had a heavy NFL coaching staff with Coach Vick and Coach Garvin as well, right?
Yes, sir.
And if you could talk about how that helped you make this jump.
Well, it definitely helped me with the X's and O's, you know, so, you know, we call it the football classroom, being able to, you know, see different schemes and where I'm supposed to be, how fast I'm supposed to be there. So it definitely, you know, progressed my speed throughout the time.
And Coach just spoke very highly about you, and what has it been like working for Coach A so far?
Oh, man, Coach A, he's a phenomenal coach. You know, he's going to coach you hard. You know, it might not be the things that you want to hear, but it's what you need to hear. You know, he's going to make you a better player no matter what type of player you are. You know, you could not know anything from football. He's going to make you an elite athlete. So definitely appreciate Coach A.
Coach A
You said
said
you
you have
wanted to,
go ahead.
Okay. You said you came here because you wanted to step up a little bit in the competition. What differences have you noticed? How hard of an adjustment has it been?
Honestly, you know, humbly, the adjustment hasn't been too difficult. The the biggest thing, like I said, is those X's and O's. You know, it definitely it increases for sure. The speed is definitely a little bit faster. You know, bigger bodies out there. But you know, like I said in one of my last interviews, you know, football is football. You know, the level is going to be the level. You know, you just got to play to it and hold yourself within the standard.
Jay was saying you have a great story. You've come a long way. What elements of that story would you highlight?
Honestly, man, Chihuahua University, that was one of the most humbling experiences I've ever been through. You know, Division II school, you know, it was in a high conference. We was in the Gulf South, so we were playing teams like West Florida and Valdosta, things like that. So it was good ball. It was just, you know, the circumstances. You know, you're in Murfreesboro, North Carolina. So you're in the middle of nowhere, you know, far from home. So you just got to, you know, keep your head down and just keep grinding, you know, and keep trying to strive for the best.
So just a humble program with facilities that were modest, and you're just kind of in the middle of nowhere, just trying to make a name for yourself.
Yeah, trying to make a name for myself, you know, for me and my family, not just me. So yeah, definitely.
So when you're in that setting, your goal is to get to the highest level.
Yes, sir.
Do you wonder, can I get there from here, or is anybody watching me?
Definitely. You know, it's times and it's nights, you know, you stay up late and you're wondering, like, man, I hope this is the right decision. You know, I hope I'm in the right place. Which, you know, that's where you got to just, you know, trust God and trust yourself and keep working. You know, just do the extra things every day and go over the extra steps and do what you can. Just keep moving forward.
You alluded to, you know, you taking on double teams basically. Is that something that, you know, you have to put the stats aside sometimes and just think about?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's 11 guys out there. It's a team sport, you know. So sometimes you're not always going to make that play, but you're going to pack it, you know. Coach A, he always preaches about havoc points or havoc, you know. He wants, you know, knock back in that line of scrimmage and making movement, you know, just causing havoc, being explosive. So.
I got to ask you what you thought when you stepped into the indoor for the first time.
Oh, man, I was ecstatic, man. It was crazy. When I came on my official visit, it was like being in paradise. I feel like I was out of the country, kind of. So, yeah, it was beautiful, man. I love the facilities, for sure.
How do you feel like playing offensive line before in college has helped prepare you or made you a better defensive lineman?
Honestly, it just teaches you, you know, stay on your toes, you know. Be ready when your number is called. You know, anything can happen at any moment. Definitely, I would say, knowing, you know, communication terms throughout the O-line. Like sometimes I'll be able to know what they're talking about or where the play might go because, you know, I used to be an O-lineman. So it helps me play a little bit faster when I'm out there.
What position did you play on that offensive line?
So when I went to Chihuahua, I started at center my freshman year, but I really played offensive guard. Then I had switched over. I switched back to offensive guard my sophomore year. I wound up getting like a high ankle sprain, and I missed one game. I just played the rest of the season, but my coach, he sat me down. So that's when the defensive line coach was like, man, I can use your help. I need help on the D-line, and that's why I'm still playing D-line now.
So at Chihuahua, you made the switch?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Yeah, and then you went to Norfolk as a D-lineman?
Yes, sir, correct. Yeah, I played a little bit of fullback there, too, a little bit.
Really?
Yeah, yes, sir.
You score or what?
Nah, I didn't score. I was mainly blocking, lead blocking, you know. In practice, I get the ball here and there, but never in game. Nah, never in game.
So how would you describe your world, what it's like? I mean, a lot of times you're just in the middle of somewhere, you're not the edge rusher getting a sack or something. The role that you have to play and how difficult it is physically sometimes.
One, the role I play, it definitely takes a lot of passion, you know, passion and tenacity, you know. A lot of people don't want to play nose guard. Personally, I love it, you know. I just like being aggressive. I like taking on those double teams and just being physical. So, I mean, that's really what it takes, honestly. So that's pretty much my world, just aggressiveness and tenacity.
What did you know about USF before they started recruiting you?
Actually, I didn't know much. My friend last year, he played nose guard, Travion Mitchell. Yeah, he went to Chihuahua with me too, actually. So I was keeping up with him. I noticed he went 9-3 last year. I knew they were a good program. But, you know, back in the day when NCAA, the video game just came out, I used to use USF. So, yeah, that's pretty much all I knew. I didn't know too much. But
Did you win a lot of games?
Oh, yeah, definitely, for sure.
So when you're pass rushing, there's a lot of techniques, but as a nose tackle, it's pretty much bull rush, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. That's what the O-linemen hate the most. You know, they always will tell you, oh, you're always bull rushing, da-da-da. But, you know, it's really, I mean, you're right there. You really can't do too much. But, you know, you can't beat guys with speed as well. It honestly just depends on, you know, what they give you. Like, you know, if a guy oversets me, you know, I could two-step counter and go another way. So it doesn't always have to be bull rush, but mainly that's what you're looking at for sure.
So So you were out of Maryland?
Yes, sir. I went to high school out of Maryland, but I was born in D.C. I was
Okay.
raised in D.C. for a
You're
couple
like
years.
DC is your kind of your home.
Yeah, yes, sir.
home area. Were you overlooked out of high school? Did you have many looks at all?
No, not really. Out of high school, I went to a 2A high school in Maryland, a small 2A high school, Frederick Douglass High School. We wound up winning states 2021, so that was pretty much the most praise I've ever had. You know, I think I went second team all state. I was playing offensive line as well. But yeah, for me, it's always been a slow start, and it's always been, you know, me having to prove myself in order to get where I'm trying to go.
So was Chuan your offer? Or
No,
or
so
others?
what's it called? I was supposed to go to Fayetteville State at first in the CIAA. I went there on an official visit. You know, the coach told me, you know, everything was going to be what it was, and it wound up not being that. My quarterback from high school, Trey Manley, he's at Benedict right now. He was committed to Chuan when I was committed to Fayetteville State. He saw what happened. He was just like, man, like, send your film. I know they'll take you. So I sent my film. I was actually in the English hallway. 5 minutes later, Coach Paul Johnson hit me back, and from there, you know, it's been a story.
So there's a lot of guys on this team that have come here out of high school. They've gotten a lot of praise, a lot of publicity, and you've taken a different route. So what do you think mentally that does for your approach? Do you think you have a lot more incentive or a lot more appreciation or whatever the word is?
Definitely. I mean, like I said, it definitely humbles you, you know, and going back to your previous question, asking, you know, those thoughts that you want, you kind of got to put that to the side and just worry about you, you know, because when you worried about everybody else and worried about other things, it throws you off your track. And that's when, you know, you get distracted to the main goal. You got to, you know, be where your feet at, keep the main thing the main thing.
Do you like proving yourself, and what have you proved?
Honestly, I'm used to proving myself, so I guess, you know, you learn to like it. And for me, I just proved that, you know, I can compete with those guys that were 4 stars in high school, 5 stars in high school, you know, even though that wasn't me. But, you know, I'm out here competing, you know, I'm changing levels every other year. So, you know, I feel like I proved myself in that way.
Having played offensive line, does it help when you're at nose going, if I do this, this is what I would have done as an offensive lineman? Because you're kind of anticipating what they'll do?
Well, you know, the game is so fast, so, you know, you think that in film, definitely. But, you know, actually when you're out there on the field, mostly it's just a communication, you know, hearing, like, if a guy's saying, like, deuce, or gang left, gang right, like, you kind of know where the play might go, where it's going, looking at the back alignment. So it gives you, you know, kind of an offensive mindset, but everything is moving so quickly, you don't got time to go through all that.
Are you 330 pounds?
Yeah, like 327, 328, around there, yes, sir.
Is that about where you need to play?
I mean, they're fine with me at that weight. You know, anywhere between, you know, 320 and 330, they're happy. You know, as long as I'm performing. You know, Connor, he's a great nutritionist. You know, he does his thing. So, yeah, they're happy with me where I'm at. But, you know, it's always room for improvement.
Coach A was saying earlier, you know, you're not just a fire plug. You've got good arms. You've got good feet.
Yes, sir.
How would you describe your, you know, beyond just your size, what you bring to the table?
Oh, you know, I surprised a lot of people with my speed. You know, you don't see a 330-pound guy move how I move. You know, so that's the first thing that people notice about me. You know, after the size, obviously. But just the quickness, you know, I know you guys heard Coach A talk about twitch and guys being able to run, but, you know, honestly, that twitchiness, that's what, you know, coaches look for. So you're a 330-pound guy and you have that twitch, you know, you can go some places.
Thank you, Major.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
All right, linebacker Grayson Howard.
Grayson, how would you describe last season? I know you're dealing with some injuries. What was that like to go through, and what was your decision to come here?
Yeah, absolutely. Last year was very short of complicated. I had a high ankle sprain at the end of 2024, and then on the recovery path had another surgery. But the only thing I think of is I could thank God. It's brought me closer to Him. It's brought me closer to everything around me. It made me work harder. Made me really look at myself. So I thank God for giving me the opportunity to go through those things. Adversity is the biggest and best thing that anybody can go through. So like I said, I thank God for giving me the opportunity. And then after that year, medically redshirted, played 3 games. I didn't really have an off season going into the 2025 year. Like I said, I had those 2 surgeries, so I didn't have an off season. And after I redshirted, coach staff got fired. Decided that best thing for me was to go find a new home, and I found that, and I'm glad. I thank God for giving me the opportunity to do that.
How are you feeling now?
I feel great. Our training staff is really elite. I work with Kyle. He's the greatest guy as a trainer and as a human. Keeps me working every single day. Coach AT, our strength coach, he's great at what he does, him and his staff. And I feel amazing. I'm practicing 100%, being with the guys 100%, so can't complain. I'm happy that I've chose to put my trust in those people.
New coaching staff, everybody starts at square one. How important is that to you?
It's good. We have a diverse coaching staff from a lot of different places, a lot of coaches with, play calling experience, position experience, head coaching experience. So to have all those guys and all those minds in one place, I mean, it's great. We have a great guy at the head of the household. Coach Hartline does a great job in making sure everybody's on page. And so I'm just excited to see what we can put together. The coaching staff works very hard. When we're coming here at 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning with practice and OTAs and mat drills, you can see all the coaches' cars in the parking lot the hours before we get there. So they're definitely determined, and they're making sure that we're all on the same page.
And Grayson, your impressions of playing under Coach A right now?
Yeah.
In a few months, and what have you learned, and what are your impressions of him overall, not only as a coach, but somebody who's helping you as a person as well?
Absolutely. First with a coach, he's one of the most brilliant minds I've been around. He runs a very good defense and makes sure that we're playing fast on all 3 levels. I've seen us, especially in the linebacker room, grow as players being under him. So I'm very, very proud to be able to play under him. And as a man, though, he's making sure all of us are, growing individually. He brings his family around. He shows us what it's supposed to look like. So can't thank Coach A enough. We have a good room. I love all those guys, and we all hang out together. We hang out with his family together. Whenever he brings the kids around, we're with them. So he's a great guy and a great coach.
You played against the Bulls last year, right?
Yes, sir.
I mean, it's easy to ask this question now, but
yeah.
Did the team make any kind of impression on you?
I wouldn't say so. I mean, last year, I just played as much as I can. I think I played like 10 snaps that game. Really unfortunate season. We only won 4 games that year, but I knew that when I left that I did want to stay in Florida. And the success here and with Coach Hartline coming and Coach A coming, I felt like it was the right decision.
Who reached out to you?
Coach A.
That was Coach A.
Yes, sir.
What do you remember from that game, and have any players who were on this team last year talked any smack when you came in?
Oh yeah, we're very competitive. We talk smack all the time. So I've definitely heard the remarks here and there. But we do have a lot of returning players from that team, and a lot of people that had success with that team. So I'm really excited about it, especially on our defense. Their experience. So I'm proud of that.
Everybody talks about terminology. It's the bottom line on defense. Find the ball, hit the guy with the ball.
Absolutely.
Can you give us the origin of the nickname?
Yes, sir. So I got the nickname my 8th grade year, going into 9th grade. I was practicing with the high school during their spring season. And the coach at the time, he said, Coach Smith, he said, I'm going to call you Pup because I know one day you're going to be a big dog. So, and it's stuck ever since. So I've had that nickname since I was in 9th grade.
Did you consider coming out of Jacksonville? Did you? Of course, you went to South Carolina, but did you have opportunities to stay in state, or was South Carolina a slam dunk for you at that time?
Yeah, absolutely. My top 2 really came out of high school. Really came down to Florida and South Carolina, and I decided to go to South Carolina my freshman year, and then after that, I decided I want to come back home. So I ended up going back to Florida.
You talked to Major about being an offensive lineman. What was your position transition throughout your time? Or were you always an LB?
Yeah, in college I was always an LB. In high school played linebacker and edge, and then in middle school I played a little running back. But besides that, yeah, I've been LB since high school.
Are you a big dog yet?
You have a season
Are you a big dog yet?
Still trying to get there. Still trying to get there. It's a humbling nickname. I don't think it'll ever change. So, I mean, everybody calls me that. A lot of people, it's funny. A lot of people will be like, hey, like, what's your actual name? So, and a lot of people call me Pup. So, yeah.
When you have a season like you did at Florida, I think you started every game, and I'm sure your expectation is you're going to keep doing this, and then you run into injuries and things that humble you. What's that like mentally to be here and then you're there?
Yeah. So like you said, it was the biggest thing for me after I left South Carolina is I wanted to come back home, and then I worked my way up. And like I said, I started every game in 2024 that I played. And then you have all these, you have an injury, and you're like, okay, well, just a minor setback. I'll be back, no time. And then you have another injury, and then that puts your recovery 2 weeks before the season. And then at that time, you had no off season, and you're like, well, I can just do what I can to help the team. And it's a very humbling experience for sure, because you know what you're capable of, and you just know that the circumstances that you were put in. But like I said, you read, if you're a Christian, you read the story of Job, and you realize that it could be worse. And you read the stories of online about everybody in America that's going through something, and then you realize that it could be worse. So, I mean, I get to play college football, I get my education paid for, I get to play on Saturday nights, and I get to be around great guys and great coaches. So I'm very proud of the position that God has put me in. It's hard in my skin, not only as a football player, but I know like 10 years from now, I'll be the same man because of the situation that I had to go through. So I can't thank God enough for putting me in that situation. Like I said, it's humbling, but I'm happy to be here right now.
How old are you?
I am 21, turned 21 in January.
So there's a lot of 21-year-olds who have gone through tough times.
Absolutely.
It's all about them.
Absolutely.
They don't think about it could be worse or look what's going on in the world. What is it about you that makes you know that, maybe you're struggling, but it could be worse?
Absolutely. It take a lot of growing. When my first injury happened, or when my second injury happened, I probably wouldn't have gave you that response. But over time, being in the Bible, being surrounded by a great support system, hardest working person I know is my father. So just being surrounded around him, it's instilled a lot of things in me, a lot of good wisdom in me, and I'm excited about that.
What's your father do?
He's retired military. He was 22 years in the Navy, and then he works at the Naval Station in Jacksonville right now.
So you're in Jacksonville Navy?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You have how many siblings, Grayson?
I have 5 older siblings.
Is that right?
Yes, sir. So I'm the youngest.
Okay.
You are the pup, huh?
Yes, sir.
Did any of them precede you on the college gridiron?
No, sir.
Okay.
No, sir.
When you went to South Carolina, could you fathom how big that rivalry was with Clemson?
Oh, no. So, I mean, that was another thing is, the rivalry there is huge. And then being from Florida, you really don't understand it until I went back to Florida, and that rivalry is Florida State. And then you really, being from Florida, I grew up an hour, 30 minutes away from the stadium. So, like, you really feel it. You really feel it.
Can you talk about your unit and the linebackers and how you've all meshed together and what that dynamic has been like?
Absolutely. I have never been in a closer room than the room here. I mean, everybody, like, when I tell you, when I go home, I literally just choose who to hang out with. Like, we all hang out. You hang out with different people all the time, like, outside the facility. You watch film with different guys. Like, we have a really good room from head to toe. And we have a lot of experience in our room as well. And we have some young guys that are, getting under our wings and learning from us. And I feel like everybody in that room is just very hungry to get better, very hungry to work, very hungry to contribute and just make this team better. We have a very humble and very hardworking room.
Does that happen naturally, or is it just who these guys are, or are there team bonding exercises? How's that going?
Yeah, I think it's just naturally, to be honest with you. Like, I've never seen anything like it. I think that a lot of these guys just are very humble and very hardworking, and I'm glad to be able to surround myself with guys like that.
So when you're on defense and looking ahead of you and you see a guy like Major Dillard up there, what does a guy with his physical skill set mean to your defense and all the things that he can do?
Yeah, so I'll tell you a specific thing that happened in practice today. So we have this defense where Major is in the nose, he's a 0. And I'm supposed to play off Major or whatever. And then I go up to him after the play, I'm like, appreciate it. Like, he made my job very easy. He did his job and my job. So, as y'all guys heard, he's very smart. Like, the way he speaks, the way he plays, the way he prepares, like, he's very smart. And it just builds so much confidence in me knowing I'm playing behind a guy like that. Like, I'm protected. My will linebacker is going to be protected. And that front four is, like, very elite. And y'all seen it with Major. He's elite.
Can you talk about what it meant to win the Iron Bowl award in the winter?
Yes, sir. So it was huge for me. Anybody that knows me knows I'm just hardworking and disciplined. So be able to earn that award for the time that I put in, it was great. Being able to have that award shown to my teammates, to show them that I care about them, I work hard for them, it was elite. Like I said, Coach A.T. pushed us and grinded us through that spring, the winter training. So being able to win that award, to show my teammates that I'm going to work hard for them was very good.
What do you make of what you see here overall? Guys coming from all kinds of different directions,
Yeah.
some returners, but not a lot, and how you're coming together as a team and how good you can become.
Absolutely. Like I said, you see guys coming from different places, from the coaching staff, from players. It's a lot of transfers coming in on both sides of the ball. I think that everybody's come here for a common goal, and I think that's the biggest thing. Like, we want to win, and we want to do something that hasn't been done. You know what I'm saying? So we're looking to, go for the conference championship, and we're doing it one day at a time. And everybody's coming here, and most humble locker room, hanging out, like, guys on offense and defense trying to make each other better. Like, it's not offense against defense every day. It's us against everybody else trying to make each other better. And, you see that at the linebacker position. You see that in the leadership with the quarterbacks. I feel like everybody's coming here for a common goal, and I feel like Hartline and Coach Beck and Coach Aldridge are handpicking guys with the right mindset to come in here and play. So I'm happy that we have those guys at the top.
Thank you very much.
Thank y'all.
You have 2 seasons.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I'll try. Thank you so much. Thank y'all.
Thank you.